I'm gonna make this pencil disappear.
Marvel copied Superman, then copied Deathstroke, and somehow turned both into bigger icons. Once you realize how shameless some of these copycats really are, you can't unsee them. Because Marvel and DC didn't just create heroes, they studied each other, borrowed what worked, twisted it, and sometimes they made it even bigger. So instead of asking who copied who, let's look at what actually changed. Green Arrow versus Hawkeye. Same weapon, different war. Green Arrow showed up first, a billionaire with no powers, no alien blood, no super serum, no impossible mutation, just pure precision, pure discipline, and enough skill to stand among gods without ever becoming one. He proved something huge. You didn't need powers to matter. Then Marvel answered with Hawkeye, and on paper it looked almost identical. Another elite archer, another impossible marksman, another hero somehow landing shots no normal human should ever hit. But the pressure couldn't be more different. Oliver Queen is a billionaire playing Robin Hood to save his city's soul. Clint Barton is a battle-worn soldier with a recurve bow, trying not to get stepped on by alien gods. One fights to clean up corruption, the other fights to keep Earth spinning. Same weapon, completely different war. But copying a weapon is one thing. Copying an entire underwater kingdom? That's where things get shameless. Aquaman versus Namor. Same throne, different rage. Most people assume Aquaman came first. He didn't. That was Namor. And Namor wasn't built as a noble king. He was a threat. Arrogant, violent, unpredictable. The kind of ruler who looked at humanity and saw a species barely worth tolerating. Then DC reshaped the formula. Aquaman became diplomacy, duty, restraint. A king carrying the impossible burden of keeping two worlds from tearing each other apart. Namor carries a blood-soaked trident and a grudge against the surface. Aquaman carries responsibility. One wants peace. The other has spent decades proving how easily peace can drown. Same ocean, same throne, completely different king. But the next comparison is way smarter, because DC didn't copy the powers. They copied something much harder. And, trust me, wait until the end. Because the final comparison might completely change how you see both characters.
Hey, where you going, baby? Come on!
Spider-Man versus Nightwing. The copy hidden in plain sight. This one is genius, because Nightwing doesn't look anything like Spider-Man. That's exactly why most people miss it. Spider-Man changed superhero storytelling forever. He wasn't perfect, he wasn't rich, he wasn't larger than life. He was awkward, funny, relatable, a young hero crushed under responsibility he never asked for. And readers connected to that instantly. Years later, Dick Grayson evolved into Nightwing, and suddenly DC had their own emotionally grounded, wisecracking, acrobatic young hero, the one everyone trusts. The one who carries light into darkness, the one who feels human in a world full of gods. DC didn't copy Spider-Man's costume. They copied his emotional blueprint. And honestly, that's one of the smartest copycat moves in comic history. Dr. Fate versus Dr. Strange, borrowed power versus earned power. Dr. Fate built the mystical template, reality's cosmic guardian, a sorcerer tied to forces older than existence itself. But there's one massive catch. That power isn't fully his. He channels Nabu. He becomes a vessel, a host.
Be prepared.
Then Marvel introduced Doctor Strange. Same role, same cosmic responsibility, same reality-shattering threats. But this time, the formula changed. Strange earns everything. Every spell, every scar, every sacrifice. Fate channels, Strange commands. One submits to power, the other masters it. That single difference turned an obvious influence into a completely separate legend. Then Marvel stopped being subtle, because next, they basically copied the entire aesthetic. Catwoman versus Black Cat. Same claws, different chaos. Catwoman created the blueprint. The seductive thief, the morally gray acrobat, the impossible wildcard dancing between ally and enemy. Then Marvel introduced Black Cat, and suddenly the similarities became impossible to ignore. Another cat-themed burglar, another agile anti-hero, another dangerously flirtatious chaos magnet tied directly to the main hero. But Marvel added one brutal twist: luck. Black Cat doesn't just rely on skill, reality bends around her. Disasters happen, probability breaks, and somehow she walks away untouched. Catwoman survives because she's brilliant. Black Cat survives because the universe itself occasionally cheats for her. Same claws, different kind of danger. Red Tornado versus Vision, the android identity crisis. This one is almost shameless. Red Tornado was already asking one giant question: can an artificial being become human? Then Marvel introduced Vision, another synthetic lifeform, another machine struggling to understand emotion, another artificial being searching for meaning, morality, and identity. The parallels are hard to ignore. The search for humanity, the conflict between logic and feeling, the desperate need to understand life itself. But Vision got something Red Tornado never fully had: love. His connection to Wanda made the synthetic existential crisis personal, and suddenly, the copy became unforgettable. But if you think that was obvious, wait until the next one, because Marvel didn't even bother hiding this copycat at all.
Oh! Oh, hello.
Deathstroke versus Deadpool, the copy that barely changed names. This one is absurd. Deathstroke, Slade Wilson, a ruthless tactical killing machine. Enhanced, precise, cold, calculated. Then Marvel introduced Deadpool, Wade Wilson. Seriously, that's not inspiration. That's comic book theft in broad daylight. DC built a perfectly controlled assassin. Marvel took that exact framework, ripped out the sanity, and replaced it with a fourth wall-breaking lunatic who knows he's trapped inside fiction. And somehow, the shameless copy became one of Marvel's biggest icons.
Form looks good.
Green Lantern versus Nova, same cosmic job, different pressure. Green Lantern built one of comics' greatest concepts: ordinary people chosen to wield impossible cosmic responsibility, discipline, order, willpower. Then Marvel answered with Nova, another normal human suddenly handed universe-level power, another intergalactic protector, another ordinary person forced into cosmic war. But the emotional core is completely different. Green Lantern trains, Nova adapts. Lanterns are chosen because they're ready. Nova becomes powerful because chaos leaves him no alternative. One is precision, the other is survival. And now, we get to the comparison comic fans have argued about for decades. But don't click away, because the next copycat is one of the most shameless on this entire list. Darkseid versus Thanos. The comparison is real. Darkseid came first, a towering cosmic tyrant obsessed with total control. Then came Thanos, another towering cosmic philosopher with universe-level ambition. The similarities are impossible to ignore, but then the split happens. Darkseid wants obedience. He wants existence itself to kneel. Thanos wants balance, twisted, violent, monstrous balance. Darkseid enslaves. Thanos justifies. One imposes order, the other believes destruction is mercy, and that philosophical divide transformed influence into greatness. Superman versus Hyperion, Marvel's most shameless copy ever. There is no subtle version of this. Hyperion is Marvel looking directly at Superman and saying, yeah, we're doing that too. Flight, invulnerability, heat vision, godlike strength, near limitless physical dominance. The blueprint is unmistakable, but Hyperion explores a much darker question. What happens when godlike power loses certainty? When absolute strength stops believing in itself? Superman is hope restrained. Hyperion is perfection cracking under pressure. Same foundation, much darker execution, and trust me, do not click away now, because the final comparison isn't about powers. It's about pure psychological destruction, and it might completely change how you see both characters. Joker versus Green Goblin. Same madness, different monster. This goes deeper than powers, deeper than costumes. This is psychological design. Joker exists to destroy Batman's order, to infect logic with chaos. to corrupt discipline itself.
Hello, my dear.
Then Marvel built Green Goblin, another theatrical maniac, another grinning nightmare, another villain obsessed with emotionally breaking the hero. But Goblin hits differently. Joker attacks ideals, Goblin attacks innocence. He doesn't just challenge Spider-Man, he destroys Peter Parker's world. He tears apart the things Peter loves most. That's what makes him terrifying. He isn't just chaos. He's betrayal wearing a grin. And sometimes, the most shameless copycats become the ones you remember most. Because they didn't just steal the formula, they perfected it.